Oh, goody.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Zombies here again, and today we're back with another Marvel Snap video. In this one, we're going over our day one decks for the new season pass card Blink, as well as the first card release of the month, Nocturne. Before we dive into the cards and talk about them though, I did want to let people know about the bonus rewards going on this month. So you might remember a few months ago, they had these bonus rewards where, hey, if you spend money on Marvel Snap, you get some exclusive stuff from the web shop. A lot of different currencies, but I think a lot of the things people were excited about were some exclusive variants. And it seems this is returning in a bit of a different way. So there are going to be exclusive rewards for the web shop, but they no longer are going to be involved with regular purchases in game. So I wanted to put this out here so you know, hey, if I'm going to spend money on Marvel Snap and I want some extra stuff, you should probably do it on the web store rather than purchasing in-game. You can see the full list of rewards here. Free 100 credits for everyone. Any purchase will reward a premium mystery variant. And then you have the points here. Points are essentially going by dollar amounts. So you can see 1,000 points here is essentially $10, so on and so forth. $10 gets you the 250 credits and a Ghost Spider avatar. $25 gets you 250 gold. $50 gets you 600 credits. $100 gets you a Ghost Spider variant and boosters. $150 gets you 1,000 gold. $200 gets you a Green Goblin variant and boosters and avatars. I'm not huge on these variants, personally. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check out the variants for yourself. I'm not super huge on these ones, so I'm definitely not going to be spending anywhere near that to get them. But I am going to buy the season pass, so might as well get a little bit of bonus credits and a free PMV just by buying the pass on the web store as opposed to buying it in game. So wanted to include that in here so anyone who's going to be buying the pass maybe gets that bonus stuff. That out of the way, we are going to take a look at the cards here. Also worth noting, there has been a supposed leak of the upcoming OTA. I'm going to give that its own video, but definitely some interesting stuff there. Try and cover it either later today or tomorrow, depending on time. All right, this is a quick last minute addition, but apparently the web store is bugged right now. So for whatever reason, I was able to claim all the rewards without having spent any money this month. I've seen similar things from other people. Not everyone has the full track. My guess is this is going off of whatever your last whale track percentage was back in, I think, December. So if you spent money back then, I would highly recommend going to the web store right now and claiming stuff, because I was able to claim all this for free. I've seen people who spent a bit in December able to claim up to like the 4,000 or 5,000 mark. My guess is they forgot to reset it, so it's still using your progress from the last one. They'll probably fix this pretty quickly. It might even be fixed in the 10 minutes it takes to upload this video. I don't know. But I wanted to get this information out there because getting free stuff in this game is good, and you should do that any chance you can. Taking a look at the cards here, we have Blink, who is actually a 5/7, not a 5/6. On reveal, swap the stats. On reveal, swap the last card you played with the higher cost card from your deck. And Nocturne, you can move this once. When this moves, replace its location with a random one. I think both of these are fairly strong cards. I think Nocturne probably goes into more decks. But I think Blink might have the bigger impact. Mana cheating is really powerful, and especially in something in a Electro style deck where we can turn that Electro into another 5 or a 6 drop while also getting a decent body on the field as early as potentially turn 4, seems really incredibly powerful. So I think Blink is going to be a pretty strong season pass card. In terms of the spotlights this week, we have Nocturne, Kyera, and Selene. Not a good week, unfortunately. Nocturne seems like a great card. Kyera and Selene, not so much. Selene used to be a good card back when Thanos was really strong, but hasn't really seen a whole ton of play since. Maybe you could stick it in like a zoo or a high evo and it's okay there, but not really the best of the best in terms of card quality. And then Selene is just bad. There's not much to say about Selene. Selene, unfortunately, is just a really bad card that I don't really know if it has even a singular home right now. Don't really see it even in Junk or Goblins, or I think someone played in like Junk Galactus, but not a good card. So for me personally, I think for a lot of players, this is probably, unfortunately, going to be a skip week, which is a shame because Nocturne's a really, really cool card, and I think a really good card. But unless you really, really, really want Nocturne, It's kind of hard to recommend this week unless you get lucky and high roll in like a key or two. But yeah, those are the cards. Let's take a look at the decks. All right, so starting out, we have a Hela ramp list. This list seems really good. I saw Intero take down a bunch of Infinity Conquests with it. It's gotten more popular on ladder. We just have Blink here replacing Sandman, and maybe that's not even the proper replacement, because Sandman is really good versus decks that are trying to spam cards, like the Thor deck, some Sarah decks, Loki decks, anything with Kitty Pryde. So maybe Sandman is still worth the include here, and you could put it in one of the other 5-drop spaces. But I think the core of this deck is really solid. We have 2 main ramp pieces, an Electro and Corvus. Jubilee also is a pseudo ramp. It lets us pick something out of the deck, put it into play, and it's huge with Blink. I think you're going to be seeing a lot more Jubilee play, primarily because of Blink, because Jubilee lets us cheat something into play, and then we can use Blink to turn the really small Jubilee body into another big thing. And the likelihood of that is very high in this deck. I mean, all our big things are good here. There's not really a bad pull off of blinking a Jubilee. So that seems really powerful. Decks like this that naturally are leaning towards the higher end of the curve are going to get a lot of use out of Blink, especially because you could play Blink as early as turn 4 and then trade that Electro or Corvus for any of your things that cost more, which seems incredibly powerful. Also, with the bonus energy available to you, on the final turn with 7 energy, you could also toss out Jeff and then Blink. That won't work with Electro, but if you did Corvus instead of Electro, where your plays aren't limited, then you can definitely make use of that. Pretty cool. I think this is a really solid way to go if you like having that kind of Hela backup plan, but also just playing a normally decent ramp deck. And then there's normal Hela. If you just want to go all in on Hela and you aren't as much about just ramping things out, this is probably a good way to do it. And I think Blink is going to have quite a strong role here, essentially giving us something like we had with the old Lockjaw, which was really powerful because it essentially gives Hela decks a way to try and get their Hela again on the final turn of the game, which is really strong. We can use Jubilee, and we don't have any other 5 costs in the deck but Blink, so if we trade out Jubilee with Blink, we're either going to get a really big threat, or it can be a Hail Mary to get our Hela on the final turn, which is really nice since Jubilee is also essentially drawing us a card, and that's getting us closer to our Hela or whatever else we are looking for. Not too much else to say about it. Pretty standard Hela list. We have the things that discard stuff. We have the big threats. We have Black Knight because he can be useful in terms of being something we can just Hail Mary with Blink if he happens to come along too late, or we can use him earlier on to get down a big threat that's hard for our opponent to deal with. And then we have some move style decks. So this is a more top end heavy move list. We are also just including the Jubilee Blink package. I think this is going to be a package that is generally worth experimenting with in a lot of decks that are okay with a heavier top end. And as we've seen with Hope Summers, move is definitely something that is capable of running that heavier top end. We also have Nocturne here just because it's a good body, gives us some location control, and just seems like a really solid card in general. Another list that is very similar to this one but slightly different is a Sandman move list. I played something like this a little bit ago and had a lot of fun with it. Sandman essentially functions really similarly to the old Wave in terms of locking your opponent to 1 card on the final turn. And then we have some powerful ways to close out the game with things like Leader and Doom, running very efficient stats for cost cards. Miles is also a cool one here with Blink. It allows us to get Miles down for cheap and then Blink the next turn, so we only paid 1 for our Miles, and we can turn him into a 5 or a 6 drop, which that's a pretty big upside trade given the 5 and 6s we run in the deck. And obviously Jubilee for the same thing. Jubilee is the desired hit, but Miles gives us a little bit of a bonus, and one that we could also potentially do on the final turn of the game. Play Miles for 1, Blink it, and then we're getting at least more stats, if not a powerful effect alongside that. Really like this deck. I'm excited to see how these new cards fit into it. Moving back more to Nocturne specifically, again, move deck, really likes her. I think mid-range piles in general really like this kind of card. It's just very flexible, it's good stats, it helps you turn off locations that mess you up. Not much more than that to say about it. This one is teched in a way where we are trying to tech against Loki a bit with the Mobius include. If you're not as worried about Loki, you could probably drop the Mobius, but I see a decent amount of it, so I think he's kind of needed because these mid-range piles really do not enjoy Loki very much. We have some heavy hitters that we can ramp into with Vision, Doctor Doom, and Red Hulk, Shang-Chi to deal with the big stuff. The Elsa, Kitty, Angela, Hope package, really strong. Move stuff is good with that. So we have Nightcrawler, Jeff, and Nocturne, and again Mobius just as our general purpose tech. And Shang just to deal with the decks that go taller than us. And we have Sarah Monkey, so this is one you probably haven't seen in a while, but I actually have used it quite a bit recently and have been a big fan of this deck. It's actually done really well for me. Climbed into the top 200 with it on ladder this season. I really liked it. I think Nocturne's going to be a great addition to it. We already are running Scarlet Witch. If you're not as big on that card, you could put in another 2-drop to replace it. But I found Scarlet Witch to be really good. She also still has some value because if you draw Nocturne on turn 6, you can't necessarily turn off something like a Limbo where Scarlet Witch still can. And having Nocturne as backup makes it so we can use our Scarlet Witch a little more freely in the early game, which is something that I do like quite a bit. The location control element has been quite powerful. It's a really good time to be playing Killmonger. Mysterio Hitmonkey stuff has felt pretty good. Shang honestly hasn't been that crazy, surprisingly. I feel like a lot of decks are ducking Shang, but he is kind of needed there for the decks that go taller than us. And then general Kitty, Elsa, Angela stuff, just really strong stuff to be doing right now. I did have Red Guardian in this list, and I think especially if you're playing like Conquest, you probably still want Red Guardian in this list. I cut him for Nocturne, but it might be worth finding space for him still, because he does help a lot with dealing with some problematic ongoing cards and other things like Dracula. I found him really good, but it was kind of hard to find space for Nocturne, so she ended up going in that spot, but maybe we'll find some more space for him down the line. And last but not least, we have Cerebro 5. So I've always liked Cerebro. I think Cerebro can be fun. Nocturne seems like a pretty ideal Cerebro card, especially given the fact Cerebro's most hated thing is bad locations, and Nocturne helps you deal with bad locations. So what more do you want? You can move it around. It's flexible, lets you position your points differently throughout the game, and you can get rid of a location that screws your Cerebro, but obviously sometimes it's going to give you a location that also might screw your Cerebro, so it's not always going to be good, but it is something I think this deck will appreciate. Other than that, Cerebro 5 hasn't changed a whole ton. Some people like to run different cards, but this is the version I think is pretty decent. We have a lot of stuff that supports our little move package here, Doom on the top end, and we do try and have a decent amount of high statted 5-power bodies on the lower end, so get that power going. Even if we don't find our Cerebro, the deck still puts out a decent amount of power, and it gets a nice little bump if we do get Cerebro down. And yeah, that is going to wrap it up for our day 1 decks for Blink and Nocturne. I think probably some of the stronger cards releasing on a new season, so interested to see how this impacts the game. Also a reminder that Twitch drops are starting early. They're starting today with the new season, and they have some exclusive variants this time around for the X-Men 97 stuff. I believe it is Bishop and Mr. Sinister, so if you want to grab those, definitely hop on over to Twitch, watch some Marvel Snap, get some free stuff. Always love to see that. I'll be streaming today in a little bit to try out the new season and the new cards and stuff. So that's going to wrap it up for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you did, remember to like and subscribe. Helps me out a ton and keeps the content coming. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.